Have you ever felt like you're not good enough? That you don't belong, and no matter how hard you try to prove yourself and to prove to others that you're capable and worthy of success, the feeling of inadequacy and incompetence and insecurity kicks in? Well, that's exactly how I feel. However, I've been able to build and come up with 3 different steps that every single time those negative emotions come up, I use them, and it has helped me tremendously. I hope that this does the same thing to you. It helps you dealing with these feelings of self-doubt and fear. Hi there. If you don't know me, my name is Carolina, and I help entrepreneurial women build and follow their dreams with a fulfilling life, doing what they love. And if you enjoy this content, you might consider subscribing too. So let's talk about this imposter syndrome. What is it? In simple terms, it means this constant feeling, internal thoughts of inferiority, of inadequacy, and the inability to be proud for your accomplishments. Because you feel as if you're a fraud, as if you don't deserve it, and that is not good enough. You can be a high achiever and other people will praise you for your achievement, but you see it as it's not good enough, that you could have done better, or that you're a fraud, or that people will soon realize that you don't really know what you're talking about and how incompetent you are. These are all internal thoughts that we have that our mind is basically telling us. This is worse because when somebody tells you outside of you, you can kind of dismiss it and say, no, it's not me. But when it's your own mind telling you how bad you are, it's really hard to run away from that. It has nothing to do with depression or anxiety or even sadness, or your self-esteem is not related to that. And we're gonna touch base a little bit later where these feelings are coming from. It's plainly negative thoughts that become a belief inside your belief system. So you at some point start believing that this is the truth, when in reality it's far from it. There are 3 main ones that through research they have found. The first one is upbringing, and we'll explain what that means. The second one is cultural and social environments, and the third one is just inclined to negative thoughts. It is partially how you were raised by your parents. If you had parents, whether they spoiled you and gave you everything they could, or the opposite, that you had very strict parents that whatever you did was not enough. They invalidated your accomplishments. I personally had that type of parent. One of them was absent, and then the other one was incredibly strict and was always expecting more and more. Mind you, always I had honors in school. Best grades, always had honors with, the top performers in school. I always had recognitions, and I remember when I was in high school, they used to have only breakfast for the students that were the best performers, or the best students with the highest grades and GPAs and all that. Plus, they would allow your parents and your family members to come so they can praise you, they can celebrate you. My family would go, especially like my mom and my brother, but I wasn't ever praised like, oh my God, I'm so proud of you for what you're doing. It was more like, yeah, this is what we're used to. This is the norm. And you never think anything of it. But when you grow up with this type of parent, it just makes you feel in the background like whatever I do is not enough. Now I gotta go to the next level and the next level. So you could have that type, and if you're probably suffering, because if you clicked on this video, maybe you're relating or wanting to understand it more, maybe to see if you have it. Whatever I'm sharing with you, try to see if you have any of those things that you can compare to. This is where your social environments, the people that surround you, the place you live play a role. And in this one, personally, again, you have to evaluate where your surroundings are coming from. But for example, my surrounding was a very strict religion where I was always told that what I was doing was expected, and it wasn't something to praise. It was expected, you know. If I got recognition again inside the religion, it was never to me. It was to God, because he allowed it to happen, or he helped me. So I was never praised in any way for any sort of accomplishment that I did. And then we also have the cultural environment where we live in a country where it's expected, you know, to give more, and or your neighborhood where, oh, this person or this other person, they come from a good family, so they have to show with your action that you're higher and better. So you grow up your whole life, or your majority of your life, being expected by others, and that becomes part of you, that you have to perform at a high level. And even when you are performing at that level, you still have this self-doubts and these fears of, am I gonna be able to sustain this? Is this good enough? Maybe it's not. Maybe they're gonna not like it and leave me. It's just a ball of fears that you just hold on to within you because you're scared. And then the third part is just being inclined to negative thoughts. Sometimes our thought rules, and we lean towards what is easier for us. And for some people, thinking negatively is the easiest. It's the less resistance there is when you have negative thoughts. It's the easiest. So being inclined to it, what it does is when they actually come, you know, the negative thoughts against yourself and your own belief, you allow them to be dwelling with you, to become part of your belief. And you say, yeah, this is me, I'm bad, I'm not good enough. Let's say you make a beautiful painting and people praise about your painting. You say, I see this mistake. Like, you're judging yourself through a loop of just purely negativity. Then of course it's not ever gonna be enough, because there's always flaw in anything we do. So in your case, if you think maybe I might have this syndrome, which is not a bad thing, it's not something that's diagnosed and you have to take medication for it, nothing like that. It's just to understand your internal thoughts and feelings, because I've been dealing with this for a long time until recently that I heard about it and I started investigating, and I was like, so this is where I'm feeling it, and this is why I'm feeling it. It's just, you know, a moment where you kind of have to reflect on yourself in order to get those answers. But it's not a bad thing. It's actually you're self-reflecting, which is something absolutely necessary in order to overcome these negative thoughts and emotions. This is where I build the 3 steps that I think will really help you overcome this syndrome, or this imposter syndrome. The first step is acknowledgement. Second step is acceptance. And the third is action. So let's again dive into what each means. The first one, when it comes to acknowledgement, is knowing that their feelings are there, and that the feelings are coming from a negative space. When those feelings come, it is crucial that we acknowledge them and that we pay attention that they're there. Because sometimes what happens is you're not really focused on the type of feelings you're having, so then all of a sudden you have a negative thought or multiple in a row, and because you're not focused or hyper focused on what the thought is, you just accept it. And by accepting means you start having an emotion against the negative thought. Put it in simple words, somebody sees your work, they don't say anything, and you assume, oh my god, it must be bad, it must be horrible, and then you immediately start feeling bad and down. That is reacting to the negative thought. But that's not what I'm saying you should do. First, acknowledge, and by acknowledging means, wait a minute, I'm just thinking right now that I'm not good enough, that this work that I did for this person wasn't good. Is it really not good? Or is it just my thoughts? This internal conversation with yourself, it's acknowledging, is having that dialogue to discern where this thought is coming from. That's number one. Then the second part is acceptance. Don't suppress it. That's the main thing. If I'm going to tell you anything, don't suppress your emotions, because they will come back later and stronger. And don't dismiss it either. Like, I feel bad. Okay, whatever. I'm not going to think about it, because it will come back later when you're calm, when you're quiet. Those feelings and thoughts are coming back. So it is important to first acknowledge that, yes, okay, I'm having this moment right now where I'm feeling like this. Second is accepting, okay, this is how I feel. Like right now, I feel like shit. I feel horrible, and I feel like I'm doing such a shitty job. Great. At least we know the two first things. And then the third part is the important one, when you have to take action. And when you have to take action, you have to know how to handle it. So you have the two options, right? You have either you dwell in it and linger in that negative pond, and then it becomes your belief, or you get out of it. But how do you get out of it? What I've been doing a lot is have my internal dialogue to recuperate myself from my own negative emotions. So I always try to remind myself, okay, this is just a moment I'm feeling. This does not mean that this is who I am. Clearly, if I was this shitty, I would have not been hired by a good company, or I would have not hired, that this person would have not hired me as their whatever, and I would not be in this situation that's good. It would mean that I'm awful, or I'm really good at hiding, or, you know, creating a persona I'm not. Which I'm not that good at it. So I tell myself, you clearly are smart. You're a driven person. And I start like pep talking myself. You have these things that are good, and then you might think that you are not enough, or you might think that your job and your work is not enough. But that's not what other people think. And sometimes I tell myself, listen to the praise of other people, because they see something you don't see. You live in your own bubble, you live in your own world, and you think that that's all there is, but that's not always the reality. So I know that, and I know to tell that to myself when I'm having that moment. And then the other part is also journaling. I also suggest, if you have a good support system, for example, good friends that you can open up to and talk to and just get advice, do it. If you have therapists, go and talk to them. If you have family, friends, like people that are around you that really genuinely care about you and will tell you how valuable you are, open up to them. Letting these feelings out is very important. In my case, I don't always feel comfortable to tell other people, so what I do is I journal. When I journal, like the action of letting those negative thoughts out in the paper, it's almost as if it's getting out of my head. Nobody's reading it, and maybe I'll read it later, but just the action of getting them out in paper allows me to breathe, allows me to like see it in third perspective and be like, so this is what I wrote about myself, but is this true? And then I'll revisit the conversation. I'll revisit the reading later when I'm actually feeling good and be like, oh, how can I say that to myself? Like, that is so sad. Would I ever say this to somebody else? Never. So why would I say that to myself? Which I love myself. So, and then this internal dialogue, again, it's like a third friend within me that helps me move forward from that moment, from those negative thoughts and those unreal beliefs of myself, and just holds my hand until I'm past it. Now the question is, what should you do? First, I would say try to figure out where these feelings are coming from in your case. I understood mine are coming from my upbringing and the environment that I was raised in by the religion I was in when I was a child. Yours might be different. Yours might be your environment, your friends, the culture, the country. I don't know. But if you figure that one out, it's going to open doors for you to realize when the emotions are coming. For example, when I was in school, and like I said, I would have an achievement, the first person I would tell would be my mom. But my mom, since she never praised me, I would learn to either not say it, keep it to myself, or just kind of like brush it off, like it was whatever. So now I know, okay, when I have an achievement or something good happens, I choose carefully who I go and I talk to. Because if I go talk to the wrong person, might have the same reaction that my mom did. But instead, what I do is I choose carefully a person that I know will cheer me up and you know, kind of celebrate with me. So choose wisely, but that comes from analyzing the perspective of where it's coming from. Then the second part is create your support system. Your support system is a must in this situation, because sometimes if you're not strong enough, you're going to need a third party to help you get out of it. Support system should be your family and should be your friends. Usually, you know, it's kind of like a given on that one. But if not, and if you are like me and you don't have that many people you can open up to, the other option is journaling. I'm telling you, journaling, if I were to show you, I have my journal since I was 9. My first journal, I still have it till this day. And I've journaled throughout my entire life. So if I ever die, my daughter has a lot to read. This really helps. It's very therapeutic in case if you don't have a family, you know, around. But I hope that this was insightful and that it has helped you understand where these emotions are coming from. And also, if you found value in what I've shared with you today, consider subscribing, sharing it with other people. This channel is not brand new, but it is new in the way that I'm trying to post more consistently. So if you share it with other people, it helps me to grow, to be exposed to new audience, and hopefully, you know, grow this channel as I wish, as I'm hoping it does. And lastly, if you want to subscribe to my newsletter as well, I'm always creating freebies or things that any entrepreneurial person would love to have. For example, the one that I have right now is for anybody who has a busy schedule and wants to balance life with business. You know, the tasks that you have to do at work, and at the same time the responsibilities at home, and what things should be priority. So I break down like self-care, I break down business, life balance, and I give you a monthly and a weekly, I think a monthly, weekly, and daily, if I'm not wrong, of a checklist of the things you have to do every single time. And this will help you in the long run be more balanced. So if you want to, in the link below, you can get that too. And I'm thankful that you're all the way to the end with me, and I will see you next time.